Isn't he fantastic? My office is up here on the fourth floor, and I have learned so much. We've come in. I first met him, I think, 2 years ago, and he has encouraged me to be courageous and has provided me with all kinds of facts that we were able to use in the Energy Committee. But it's individuals like him and like all of you that make what we do possible up there. Be not weary in well-doing, for then, in the end, you will win if you do not give up. Amen? All right, our next speaker is a lifelong Creek County resident who grew up in Mounds, Oklahoma. He spent nearly a decade as a compliance officer before returning home to start a certified naturally grown produce farm on his family's land. In 2023, he learned that a high-voltage transmission line was planned across his property, a turning point that led him to advocate statewide for landowners in rural communities facing poorly planned development projects. He is here today as a voice for the land of the people, the land to defend their livelihoods, passions, hopes, and dreams. Let's hear it for Darren Blanchard. Okay, everyone hear me okay? All right. Just a quick correction from the senator's remarks. Technically, I haven't started my farm because, so you can call me a wannabe farmer. Started this land use advocacy approach when the transmission line hit my area, and then I started getting contact from people in Porter, Oklahoma for a solar project, people in Sand Springs, people in Claremore, people in Coweta for the data centers, and it's all related to some of this stop the greed scale that we're seeing on these signs. So again, my name is Darren Blanchard. I live in Mounds Creek County. You might know me as the guy who was arrested in Claremore for exercising his First Amendment rights. True story. I was at a public meeting a few weeks ago and went slightly over my speaking time and got thrown in the slammer there in China. Rogers. Boy, I tell you, James Madison's rolling in his grave. It's funny, they tried to silence me by stripping me of my rights, but in turn, they gave me an even bigger platform to spread a message that's easy to understand, that's effective, and resonates with not only rural America, but urban America as well. All because it's embedded in the truth. And that's why some of these people get so defensive when I speak, because I speak the truth, and they simply can't handle that. I will not be silenced, and I will continue to share my message, help people defend their rights, and be a voice for the unheard. You might ask, other than getting some slick new bracelets there in Claremore, why are you up on this stage talking about wind turbines? You don't live next to a wind turbine? You ain't no renewable energy expert? That's right. I'm not surrounded by 700-foot tall whirligigs, and I'm not an expert. And that's because only God's an expert. But I will tell you, I've come to learn a lot about this industry since I was approached for a transmission line easement about 3 years ago. I was told this transmission line running 2 gigawatts of power, the equivalent of 2 nuclear power plants, was to deliver wind energy from the Panhandle to other markets. It was all an effort to help lower electric bills, so they said. Sounded fishy to me, so I did my research. When I first started looking at this, I asked myself, what's wrong with adding more energy to the grid? And if somebody wants to pimp out their land for some wind turbines, what's the big deal? Well, it is a big deal, number one. With wind and solar, they are what the industry calls non-dispatchable forms of energy production. That's just a fancy way of saying intermittent, or what I like to call unreliable. It's unreliable because it is weather dependent. And when we tie our energy demand to the weather, we're going to have problems, big problems. In fact, it reminds me of some well-known musical poetry. You can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Some of you know that's a quote from Andre 3000. He said it best. Outcast fans out there, there you go. Some people have called me a dunderhead, saying I need to learn about the concept of supply and demand and get in line with the governor's stance on energy. All of the above. Well, I've taken quite a few exams in my day, and all of the above is not always the best answer. Like I said, we were talking about an unreliable form of energy. which means wind turbines at times will underproduce and overproduce energy. When it's overproduced, it quite literally floods the market. It overruns the grid, in other words. The result, wind energy is sold at reduced or negative rates to get it off the grid. And just so we're on the same page, when you're trading in the negative, that means you're paying somebody to take your product, not a good business model. So you're probably thinking, if that's true, then how do these people stay in business? Answer, government subsidy. It's called a production tax credit, and that's the only reason why we see these turbines strung out all over our beautiful landscapes. I like to ask people, if these turbines are so great, if they're so clean and green, then why must they be propped up with their tax dollars? Why can't they just stand on their own? The response every single time, well, you've got a point there. You're gosh darn right I got a point, because I'm speaking the truth. So to this idea of property rights, sure, you have the right to put a wind turbine on your land, but why am I paying for it? Why are all of you paying for it? Doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is the Southwest Power Pool's State of the Market, a near 250-page document produced every year. I took that document, uploaded it to the all-knowing ChatGPT, and asked the simple question: is wind energy a key factor to higher utility rates? The answer I got back, quote unquote, yes, wind energy contributes to higher costs. Not because wind itself is expensive, but because subsidies and variability cause market distortions, reliability costs, and congestion charges. These added costs are socialized across consumers, so bills go up even though supply has increased, end quote. Even ChatGPT knows this is a scam. Unbelievable. And what's really sad, these wind projects are paid for by you, the ratepayer, in the form of a rate hike. So basically, through de facto tax, we pay for the means to these companies getting rich off tax credits from the federal government. Is it just me, or does this sound like a racketeering project? Again, I said I speak the truth, and I have a message that resonates. So I think we know the answer to that question. I want to close here as I'm near my time, and I really do not want to get arrested. Rumor has it the Oklahoma County Jail has some rough customers. So I encourage you to follow my story, help share my message, our message, and help others stand up for their passions, hopes, and dreams. Together, let's be a voice for the unheard. Thank you.
I think a really good measure of someone's commitment to telling the truth to power is a shiny new pair of bracelets and time in the slammer. I really appreciate the remarks of our last speaker. That was fantastic. The next speaker, I got to think.